I'm Rachel. Do we get
Hello?
disconnected? Hello?
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, did we lose Steve?
No, I'm here. I was just letting you introduce yourself, Rachel.
Oh, I was just introducing myself so she knew that there was another person on the line. But yes, I'm guest hosting with Steve tonight, and I've done numerous different radio shows and had my own. But yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to asking you a few questions of my own.
All right. Well, what would you like to know?
What would I like to know? Well, I pretty much advocate for fighters, so I try to do my very best to get them the best and listen to them and what they are wanting. So my question to you, and I talked to Steve a little bit about this, is that obviously not everybody's going to be paid the same across the board. I'm not looking to find out what her salary is, but in your opinion, is she being paid the same amount as any other male athlete who is at her level?
I don't know what the male athletes are paid, so I wouldn't really know.
Okay.
I know that she's not unhappy, so that's the only important thing to me. I do think there was a thing that it was kind of public about the Ultimate Fighter show when she wanted to be sure that she was getting paid whatever the male athletes were paid when they did, the male coaches were paid when they did it. And I presume she was, since she did the show.
Okay, and that's like a big thing that a lot of us talk about is, are the female fighters in UFC making the same amount of money as the males that are at their level? Obviously, we want some kind of equality. We don't want a Walmart status here. That's something that a lot of people are talking about, is to make sure that there's some equality within that industry.
You know what, though? I want to say something. I mean, I run a business, all right? And in my business, I pay people basically what I can justify based on the budget. And so if I have somebody, say, who's a top programmer, we rewrite software, we do educational games. So if you're a top programmer, your skills are going to bring in a lot more money than somebody who is, say, a really good project manager. Because if you're playing a game, and so I think it's the same thing with UFC. And I think some of these people, whether they're male or female, say things like, well, I'm not going to go sell the fight. I'm just a fighter first. Well, if you're not going to go out and help sell it, then you shouldn't be whining about if you're not making as much money. Because I'm sure that Rhonda doesn't want to go out and do 15 TV shows either. Right? And that happens in any business. You have the people who want to do the part of the job that they want to do, and we don't have any partial jobs here at Seven Generation Games. We have full jobs, and I'm sure that the UFC and other organizations are the same way. So I think there's a certain amount of where if you're going to get a percent of the pay-per-view, then you should get out there and hustle to see that people actually pay for those views. And if you don't, then to say, oh, boo-hoo, I'm just as great a fighter as the other person, well, maybe you are. But, it's a saying in business that nobody gets paid till someone makes a sale. And that's hard for me to accept because I'm, a software developer and I'm a marketing person. But there's a certain amount of truth to that. People pay to watch you fight, then you're in a good negotiating position. If people don't pay to watch you fight, then you're not.
Absolutely. And, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But, yeah, I do, just to explain a little bit what I do a little bit of media work. I've done interviews and TV and different things like that. And I also have a nonprofit called Unity Fighters First Foundation, which is an advocacy program for athletes, fighters in this industry. I've been in this industry for about 9 years. And I also work with the young kids and the athletes called Blaze Kids. So I've been in the industry for about 9 years, and I've seen a lot of changes coming through. What do you think about some of the changes that are about to happen or occur here in 2015 with UFC?
Well, I think, you mean just in 2015 or overall? Because one of the things that I've seen that was a positive change has been, the out-of-competition drug testing. Because, I used to be an athlete, and people, and we knew, But I was an athlete when the competition testing came in for Olympic athletes, so I'm pretty darn old. And, I remember back when I was competing, we knew people were on vitamin F, but you couldn't prove it. And there were a whole bunch of people that retired right when they started doing that testing. And, it makes more of an even playing field. So I think that's, a good step. I think some of the stupid things where they test for recreational drugs is pretty stupid. Like I said before, WADO, SADO, whoever's doing it, they're not supposed to be an arm of the DEA. They're supposed to be controlling performance-enhancing drugs. So, I think that's a change that's been positive is doing something out of competition testing. It could be done in a less stupid way, but something's better.
I agree. Right. And then, again, now we've got this lawsuit that we're dealing with UFC, and, who's to say that there aren't more fighters that have come forward and joined this lawsuit? I really feel that that's going to be a big impact on UFC for this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I've only met a few people in the UFC a few times, and they've always been, absolutely perfectly nice to me. But generally, you're nice to people's moms. That's kind of the basic thing in the world is you don't go talking bad about people's mothers,
Well, hey, look at your daughter. I don't think I would ever be disrespectful to you. No. Rhonda would probably come for me if I was. No, but yes, go ahead.
I on the one hand, being a small business owner, I'm very much in favor of competition and everything. But on the other hand, being a small business owner, I see the side where there's a lot to bringing in the money, that somebody took a big risk and took this promotion that had, that was failing and poured a lot of money into promoting it. If you go to those events, it's a hard thing being a fighter, but also if you go to those events, every little thing from the security to selling the tickets to marketing, all of that costs money, and it's a huge event. And so, I think that people have poured a lot of money into it and taken big risks to get that out of it. So I think it's a complicated issue. I don't think it's nearly as simple as people say, you're making a lot of money, give me some.
Right, and I don't think that this is going to be a cut and dry, settled out of court thing. I think this is probably going to be a little prolonged, and it's going to take a little bit of time with this particular lawsuit. I guess everybody really wants to know, do you think Rhonda, your daughter, will ever fight Chris Cyborg? I just got to ask that question. I'm sorry, Steve, I got to ask.
That's all right. I think if Cyborg ever can meet the stipulations that everybody else meets. If you're going to fight in a 135-pound division, you weigh 135 pounds. If you're going to fight for the UFC now, you participate in out-of-competition testing. I said, and so one of the things I've been trained to do my whole life is detect patterns. And when they announce out-of-competition testing and 3 days later you ask out of your UFC contract, that's a pattern. So, to then do that and come back and say, I want all of these special considerations, and I want you to change weight divisions for me, and I want you, who the hell are you? I don't believe in special rules to special people.
No, I don't either. I don't either.
I don't think she will ever woman up and do it. And she's wise not to. Because I looked at her record, like I said, I don't know a lot about UFC or mixed martial arts, but I know a lot about fighting. And I know a lot about statistics and research. I looked at her record. She has, this long record, but a lot of these people she's beat were people who were much smaller than her, people who had very poor records. So, I have a 16-year-old daughter that weighs 110 pounds. If Rhonda beat her up, that would look really bad, but it wouldn't make Rhonda any tougher.
Right.
I think a lot of people.
That's true.
Yeah, so I think she's overhyped. And I think she's not stupid. And one thing about Rhonda is she carries a grudge. This is not a good trait. But, yes, she would whip her sidearm off and throw it at her corner. Because, there's no fake about it. She doesn't like her. And why she should, make all kinds of – and I'll go up and wait, and I'll do this, and I'll do this, but I wouldn't do for anybody else or somebody I don't like. That's not happening. So, no, if she wants the money bad enough and she wants to woman up and take a beating, it'll happen. I think she's not stupid enough to do that.
Well, there you go, folks. There you go. One day, maybe we'll see that fight. What do you think, Steve?
I say it's like this. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree that Ronda should hold Chris to the standards that she's holding her to. You know, they should both agree to add a competition testing regardless of who the agency is, if it's VADA, if it's WADA, private tester, whoever. That's what it's going to have to be. If they're good, I believe that's probably going to be what Ronda's going to do for the fans as she walks away. You know what, 45, 55, whatever, 5, I don't care. Let's just sign the contract so I could smash her face in and walk off into the sunset. Because at this point in time, Chris needs to fight more than Ronda will ever need it. Ronda could retire right now, tomorrow, and not look back. There won't be something that she needs to – Chris needs her to rectify her career, win, lose, or draw.
Yes, she does. I agree. I don't know
about somebody who has missed weight a number of times. So if you say, it'll be at 140, she comes in at 150. I mean, like I said, I believe in looking at patterns, and the pattern isn't that good.
That's true. I mean, absolutely, her actions, and I don't know if you've noticed that she's starting to beautify herself where she wasn't before. So I don't know if that was in competition with Misha Tate and your daughter Ronda Rousey, their cover on the magazine posing nude. I shouldn't say nude, but their bodies were exposed. And now she's starting to fix.
Ronda was too darn naked for my taste. Let me tell you that.
That was my next question, was to ask you, what did you think about that cover?
Well, she comes over the house and shows me this thing, and I said, "You're naked." And she said, "Well, I'm not technically naked. I'm wearing pink hand wrap." And I said, "You're still naked." Now, both of her grandmothers were cool with it. My mom.
Really?
Said, yes. My mom said, I said, "Mom, she's naked." She goes, "Yeah, but she's naked on the front cover of ESPN." Like, "Mom, she's naked." And then my mother-in-law, my mom's 82. My mother-in-law's 81, right? And my mother-in-law says, "She has a really hot body, don't you think?" She's naked. So I guess I'm the old conservative.
But it's not a Playboy spread. It's just a side view of her body, which is not that bad. But it was
worse.
Yeah, exactly.
My husband said at least she wasn't the bald guy, the naked bald guy, like the horse lick his head. I said, that's a pretty darn low bar to clear.
Right. I think it was very artistically done and
being licked on the head by a horse.
So you didn't know that she was going to do this cover until she actually came home and showed you the cover. Hey, look, I'm on the cover.
Well, I knew she was going to be in some ESPN body issue, but to be truthful, I didn't really know at first what it was about. Because I'm a statistician. I write software. Like when I'm at these UFC events in the back, I will just, if I meet somebody, I'll just start apologizing. I don't know who anybody is. If you're mega famous, sorry. So I didn't know anything. And I mentioned to my oldest daughter, who used to write for ESPN for years and years, and I said, Ryan's going to be in some ESPN thing. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, what? It's the body issue." She goes, "That's the one they're naked in, right?" And I'm like, "What?" So no, she did not go to an effort to bring it up around the dinner table. So yeah.
What did you think about her movies that she's done? I mean, that's pretty huge. Do you think that she'll continue acting?
Oh yeah, I'm sure she will. I mean, she's got 2 more coming out this year, and I think they're filming another one after the fight. I'm not positive.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure there's another one coming out. And I know that they are working on the script for the Athena project. So I know she has some more movies. She has 2 more done that just have not been released yet, and 1 more I believe she's been signed for, and maybe another one. So yeah, that's going on.
That's odd. Did she ever think that she would become a movie star?
God, no. I mean, when she was a kid, we thought she would be a scientist. she went to a science magnet. She was super good in math and science, and we thought